right, welcome to ETF Watch. I'm Christian Magoon, CEO of Amplify ETFs, and happy 2026. We're glad you're tuning in to hear about 6 ideas for 2026. This is kind of our well-known outlook piece we do each year, but specifically focus on macro markets and unique opportunities in those areas over the coming 12 months. We're going to cover 3 today. So if you want to learn more, you're going to have to look at the piece to see the full 6 that we've outlined for 26. Let's get into the first one, which is next year will be a midterm election year. And believe it or not, that has some unique market behavior historically, which we're going to get into. First, however, we got to say from an earnings per share perspective, there's some positive growth out there forecasted for the S&P 500. So that's a very positive backdrop that we're entering 2026 on. However, as I mentioned, it's a midterm election year, and that's a double-edged sword for investors. In fact, in general, we see about a 17% drawdown, which tends to happen in the front half of the year for the S&P 500. That's the downside. The upside is you see about a 31% rally after those lows over the next 12 months for the S&P 500 historically. It's the best year to go forward from when you look at the 4 different election years that we've been able to chart historically. So I think it's very important as you're looking at equity markets to focus on high quality, potentially own some covered call equity strategies, and just be very disciplined in how you're investing, especially in the first half of the year. Look for those lows, and hopefully, historically, these trends continue, and we see a nice rally over the coming 12 months after those, what we believe to be midterm lows, end up evaporating. So 2 ETFs in the Amplify lineup that might be worth your consideration are 𝘮𝘀 and 𝘮𝘰𝘷𝘀. 𝘮𝘀 is really a core focused product that has a bit of a tilt towards large cap value, high quality blue chip companies that are dividend payers. In addition, the manager has the ability to write covered calls. On the other side of the coin is 𝘮𝘰𝘷𝘀. It's the growth version of 𝘮𝘀. You'll see all your favorite growth stocks in its holdings. In addition, the manager has the ability to write covered calls tactically on a portion of the portfolio. So for investors, they participate in the growth of these stocks, but also the manager has the ability to potentially generate income on these stocks from writing covered calls. So unlike most ETFs that are focused on growth, not all of your total return should come from capital appreciation. You also see some option income there as well. So consider 𝘮𝘰𝘷𝘀 and 𝘮𝘀 in this environment in 2026 for their balanced approach to equity investing, plus the ability to have covered call options to mitigate some of the uncertainty that we think we're going to experience. Another area we're highlighting in 2026 for opportunities is international equities, specifically developed international equities. And really it boils down to valuation. If you take a look at the forward PEs of the S&P versus developed markets internationally, you'll see a big difference. The S&P's forward PE ratio is 22 currently, where the developed market forward PE ratio is only 15. We think that discount is notable, and indeed we've seen some outperformance in 2025 in some of the international markets relative to the US. Amplify has 2 international ETFs that you should take a look at depending on what your needs are. If you're more interested in balancing growth and income, take a look at 𝘮𝘮𝘀, which is an actively managed ETF that buys international stocks and then has the ability to write covered calls on those international stocks tactically. The active managers had a great track record on 𝘮𝘮𝘀, 5-star rated, and it allows you to not only participate in growth, but also see some potential option income being part of your total return. On the other side of the coin is a very defensive international play, which is our international black swan ETF, iSwan. And this simply owns a barbell of assets, about 90% US Treasuries and 10% in LEAP options of international stocks. This kind of gives you the best of both worlds and hopefully allows you to weather any potential market volatility that may be on the serious side in international markets. So take a look at 𝘮𝘮𝘀 and iSwan for international options in 2026. Our third and final factor we're going to hit on of our 6 for 26 is the macro factors we expect to be in the marketplace in 2026, which is really surrounding Fed policy and supply and demand issues. We think scarce assets could really benefit in a lowered interest rate environment, potentially one that sees more dollar printing and more inflationary moves from the Federal Reserve. Two areas that we're keeping an eye on that have had some momentum recently are silver equities, as well as equities that are focused in on battery metals. These are both scarce assets. They're quite important for today's economy, not only as a store of value in the case of silver, but also from an industrial utility standpoint as we continue to build out electrical demand, AI, data centers, and electronic devices. In 2025, we saw great momentum in our 𝘮𝘰𝘷𝘪𝘯𝘵 ETF and our BATT ETF, which focus in on these areas, including battery metals and silver miners. We think this momentum could continue into 2026, given the supply and demand imbalances we're seeing in the marketplace, alongside the overall macro Federal Reserve policy. So check out 𝘮𝘰𝘷𝘪𝘯𝘵 and BAT. Hey, if you enjoyed these first three ideas, we have three others in our 6 for 26 market outlook. If you want to find out more, visit amplifyetfs.com/insights. Our insights section has not only this, but a variety of different insights into various pockets of opportunity we see today and going forward into 2026. I'm Christian Magoon. Thanks for watching Amplify's ETF Watch.